All right, today we're diving into the anatomy of a disaster. We're going to look at how just a single hour of rain high up in the Indian Himalayas could unleash a catastrophe that's, well, it's still unfolding right now in a village called Don Harley. So, picture this. It's August 5th, 2025. You're in Darali village, nestled high up in the mountains. And then, for just 1 hour, the sky opens up with this extreme rain. It was that single event, that 1 hour, that kicked off a terrifying chain reaction, one whose consequences are still being felt right now. Okay, so first up, what exactly happened in Uttarakhand? To really get a handle on this whole thing, we've got to unpack the weather event that started it all. I mean, how does simple rain turn into a force of, well, of just complete destruction? The trigger for all of this was something called a cloudburst. And look, this isn't just, a heavy downpour. We're talking about an extreme rainfall event. To put it in perspective, it's over 100 millimeters. That's about 4 inches of rain. Now imagine that amount of water falling not over an entire day, but in one single hour, all in a very localized spot. The sheer volume of water is it's staggering. And the chain reaction that followed was just terrifyingly fast. First, the cloudburst slams into the mountains high above the village. All that water has nowhere to go but straight down, right? So it creates this massive flash flood. As this torrent of water barrels down the steep slopes, it just rips the mountainside apart, triggering catastrophic landslides. So what finally came roaring through the valley, it wasn't just water. No, it was this deadly, thick slurry of mud, boulders, and all kinds of debris. Now let's talk about the human toll. That torrent of mud and rock had an immediate, devastating impact. Let's really count the cost here, what this meant for people's lives and for the infrastructure of the whole region. The first numbers that came out were the confirmed deaths, somewhere between 4 and 5 people. But that number, as tragic as it is, was quickly overshadowed by the number of people who were unaccounted for. More than 50 people are still missing. And this includes local villagers, visitors to the area, and even army personnel who were caught in that deluge. But, even in the middle of all this devastation, there's also a story of incredible survival. It's really a testament to the bravery of the first responders. Rescue teams managed to pull 274 people to safety, often from just unbelievably dangerous situations. But these numbers, the dead, the missing, the rescued, they only tell part of the story. You have to understand, the disaster completely crippled the region's infrastructure. We're talking about homes, hotels, critical roads and bridges, even the helipads they needed for rescue operations, just gone, wiped away. This completely cut off the affected communities and made the rescue efforts that much harder. Which brings us to the response on the ground. You can imagine this level of destruction created a monumental task for the rescue teams. I mean, the whole area is cut off. Where do you even start a relief operation? It was a true race against the elements. And what a response it was. A massive multi-agency effort was launched. You had the Indian Army, the NDRF, that's the National Disaster Response Force, the state's SDRF, the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, and the Indian Air Force. Their helicopters especially became an absolutely critical lifeline for the entire operation. But their task was, and still is, just incredibly difficult. Think about it. They aren't just looking for people. They're literally battling the environment. The rain kept coming, making the ground even more unstable. The roads, gone. Communications, totally down. And all the while, they're faced with the heartbreaking task of trying to find victims buried under tons and tons of mud and rock. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit and look at the broader context here. It's really easy to see this as just a tragic one-off event. But what if it isn't? What if this disaster is actually a sign of things to come? Because here's the thing. This region is basically a perfect storm of vulnerability. First, you have the Himalayan terrain itself, which is naturally fragile. Then you've got these cloudbursts happening more and more often. And you layer on top of that the fact that this is a major pilgrimage route, the Char Dham Yatra. That means you often have a lot of people in these very remote, very vulnerable areas. And this is really the key takeaway. This disaster isn't happening in a vacuum. The analysis directly links it to a much larger pattern. Climate change isn't some far-off idea. It is actively making these extreme weather events, like cloudbursts, more frequent and way more intense. It's turning already fragile places into full-blown disaster hotspots. So the tragedy in Darli isn't just a local story. It's a wake-up call. It's a stark warning for all of us. And it leaves us with this really critical question. As our planet keeps warming, how do we protect the communities that are right on the front lines of disasters like this one? That's definitely something to think about.
के लिए इतना ही।